No, I'm being serious, dearie. I might be old and withered now, but as a younger woman I was quite the adventurer. Hush up and drink your tea. Let Granny tell you a story. Years and years ago, back when buildings were still made of wood and stone instead of steel and glass, there was a town called Greenwood. And this town was relatively small, but had a robust mine that kept things afloat. And now this town, you see, they had a group of thugs in it called the Woodsmen. Big bunch of jerks, squeezing the town for what they were worth. Turns out, they were funneling a lot of resources to a group of giants a few days north of the town up in the mountains. Now, you see, giants aren't the smartest bunch, even at the best of times. No, they're not evil, not even necessarily bad, but inherently stupid. These giants were organized, so that was our first red flag that something was up. They were getting closer to town, and they were using tactics that giants didn't generally employ. So one night, my friends and I decided to see what exactly was happening. After asking around, we found out about a shipment that the Woodsmen were sending out, so we wanted to investigate. I had my broom, so I flew on ahead and landed on a rooftop to listen in. After a moment, I decided to try and spook them into giving themselves up. You know, whispering into their minds, threatening them with fire, that sort of thing. I was young and foolish back then, and that didn't even work a little bit. They scattered almost immediately. Sadly enough, even the best thought-out messages can go awry. But thankfully, my friends were waiting at the bridge, and we were able to trail them through the woods. 3 days and nights we followed those outlaws, dearie. 3 days of sleeping on the cold, hard ground, and using magical barriers to keep our enemies away from us while we rested. Skilled as I am, even back then, let me tell you, keeping those shields up takes a lot out of a girl. But finally we got to the clearing where the Woodsmen were meeting with the giants, and they handed off the food. We had found out what was going on, and who the guilty parties were. Unfortunately, before we could get back to the lord of the city, the giant's leader realized that they had been getting shortchanged for a while, and took it out on the woodsmen that were present. Let me tell you something, dearie. Hill and mountain giants are scary enough, but an angry hill giant is something that you don't want to be near. And these giants had just found out that the woodsmen had been putting lead weights into their food shipments, and since they were being weighed and not counted, Well, they were getting a lot less than what they'd been paying for a long time. Needless to say, we hightailed it back to town, riding the rest of the day, all night, and almost all of the next day as well. Well, yes, I did get there a bit faster, but I was tapped out by then. No, even after all these years, I can't teleport more than 500 feet at once, sweetheart. It's a good spell, and I was able to get a few miles ahead in a short amount of time, but it was still a long ride on the broom. No, you really don't want to be riding on a broom for more than a couple of hours at a time. You start to get sore, and that's not something you can just walk off. But anyway, I'm digressing. Once we got to town, Urgal, or as we affectionately referred to him, Gregory, helped me warn the townsfolk of the coming danger, because the mayor was too much of a pompous windbag to help until it was too late. So we corralled everyone into the mines, where they would be safe enough. These are mines, dearie. Have you ever seen a mine? A giant would have an awfully hard time squeezing into an opening that size. But once the townsfolk were safe, we went back out and saw that the giants had already come to the mines. Unfortunately, in the time we'd taken, we'd made enough of a noise warning the townspeople about the giants and telling them where to evacuate to that the giants had followed us directly there. But at least they couldn't get inside. We met with the leader of the giants, dear. He was an incredibly intelligent giant, which was curious at the time. And he told us that we had 3 dawns to discuss and present to him the terms of our surrender. It wasn't really a negotiation, it was more, we were going to do what he said, or he would flatten the town with his forces. Well, I tell you what, we were outnumbered. There were dozens of giants and ogres, and none of the townsfolk could fight. Well, sure, there were a few guards, but they had only ever fought bandits or highwaymen. Never anything of this scale. And I'll tell you, when the giants first rolled into town, I saw more than one guard with damp trousers, if you catch my meaning. So it was up to me and my friends, Urgal, Kale, Silas, and Mithra, to save this poor little town and its people from being destroyed. And do you know what we did? Well, we slept, dearie. All 5 of us had been awake riding through the woods for nearly 2 solid days. We were run ragged, and our horses were run ragged. And, well, thankfully the broom doesn't get tired, but I certainly do. So that was our first day. Just going to an empty tavern and resting. Getting our strength back, eating food that we didn't have to pay for anymore, and coming up with a plan. We were awfully stupid back then, so our plan was a bit clumsy. Aside from Urgal, who had been in the Legion for a while. None of us were tacticians, and even he wasn't a terribly good one between you, me, and the floorboards, dearie. Running head first and screaming at an enemy doesn't work so well when they're 5 times bigger than you are. But we did our best, and by the dawn of the 3rd day we had our plan. What was our plan? Well, you'll just have to come back and hear about that another time, dearie. I'm afraid I've got a client coming for a reading in herb sachet. But don't you worry, I won't forget.